to join us, and please seated. And because of the tight schedule of many guests of us, in particular Chairman Ban, and then we will start a little bit earlier than scheduled. Please, those who are still walking around, please be really seated. So, with your permission, I will kick off the session. Well, Your Excellency Chairman Ban Ki-moon, honorable guest of speakers, and dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, a big and a warm welcome to all of you to join us, and my special thanks goes to Chairman Ban for being with us, and also for the guest speakers to join us today. You may wonder why we are having this meeting. Actually, it was based on the understanding between Chairman Ban Ki-moon and President Tokayev when President Tokayev was participating in the annual conference of the Boao Forum 2024, and then they decided to have a meeting, a closer collaboration between the forum of Astana and also the Boao Forum for Asia. We know that this year's general theme for the Astana Forum is connecting minds and also shaping the future. So on that basis, we choose to have connectivity and to unleash the potentials of connectivity as our theme for this afternoon's discussion. And I don't want to take too much time elaborating on how important this theme and this discussion is. I'm sure, having heard the opening keynote speech from Chairman Ban Ki-moon, and then you will understand that better. Now it's my privilege and my honor to invite Chairman Ban Ki-moon to deliver his keynote speech. Chairman Ban, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Secretary General Zhang Jun of Boao Forum, Honorable Volkan Bozkır, President of the 75th United Nations General Assembly, and distinguished participants, speakers. Please allow me not be able to recognize all of you because of time sake. Fellow delegates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Astana Regional Cooperation Panel, co-hosted by the Boao Forum for Asia and the Astana International Forum. Thank you for joining us in this timely and meaningful dialogue on regional connectivity, supply chain resilience, sustainable development, and brighter future shared by us all. My special appreciation goes to His Excellency President Tokayev of Kazakhstan, the Kazakhstan government, and Astana International Forum for making this event possible. Kazakhstan is one of the 29 initial countries that launched the Boao Forum more than 20 years ago and has been a committed supporter ever since. Our annual conference each spring in Boao, Hainan, China has been honored by Kazakh political, business, and intellectual leaders. 1 year ago, when I met President Tokayev in Boao, we agreed to forge a closer partnership between the Boao Forum for Asia and Astana International Forum. I am pleased to see this dialogue now taking place today as a follow-up to my meeting with President Tokayev. What brings our two forums together is our shared belief in the power of dialogue and cooperation, in stark contrast to the bickering, finger-pointing, rivalry, and confrontation often seen Elsewhere nowadays, World Forum for Asia and AIF remain platforms where like-minded people still embrace trust, solidarity, and cooperation as the right way forward. This is the message PFA sent out at our annual conference 2 months ago. This is the call to action that brought us to AIF here today. International cooperation is vital. Our world is so interdependent, interconnected, and intertwined. Our challenges are so diverse, complex, and transnational. Going it alone will not work. Attempts to divide, decouple, or deglobalize lead us nowhere. Just 8 months ago, at the UN Summit of the Futures, world leaders gathered and reaffirmed and recommitted to multilateralism and international cooperation as the only viable approach to 21st century challenges. The consensus was resounding and overwhelming. I was there during that meeting. People in this region, and indeed in this room, wholeheartedly agree and are taking concrete actions. Connectivity and supply chain stability, the very topics of our discussion today, stand out. They serve as two key initiatives that brings countries together and closer to their development goals. As the twin engines of globalization, regional integration, and the free flow of goods, services, capital, and people, as the bond of global solidarity, a bridge of international cooperation, and stepping stones toward sustained peace and sustainable prosperity. This is particularly true in an increasingly divided world and increasingly fragmented global economy. Connectivity and global supply chains bear the brunt of a successive barrage of crises, viruses, extreme weather, conflict, black swans, and other unknowns. Among them, geopolitics, ideology, and the weaponization of national security stand out as the most disruptive factors and primary concerns. As we are now speaking, the world is being overshadowed by a simmering global trade war, unseen in scale and severity since the Great Depression. The imposition of tariffs has gone far beyond the common sense and good judgment. Business and consumer confidence has plummeted drastically, with potentially dire consequences for trade, investment, the global supply, the world economy, and the international economic order at large. The majority of countries and leaders, however, are still firmly behind multilateralism, free trade, and globalization, and an open world economy. That's a good sign, but that's not enough. In our part of the world, Asia, significant progress has been made in regional connectivity and supply chain cooperation through the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economics. ASEAN plus 6 countries are members of this RCEP. The CPIPP, Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Pacific. 11 countries are member states to this CPTPP, and other RTAs, Regional Trade Agreement, and bilateral FTAs. There are many, many very effective regional cooperative organizations. If we use effectively, then we can address all different difficult issues. Ladies and gentlemen, public and private funds are mobilized to build and connect roads, railways, and pipelines across the border, what we call hard connectivity. Regulators and industry groups work together to harmonize rules and standards behind the border, ensuring soft connectivity. Digital connectivity and e-commerce platforms are unleashing new potentials by empowering trade and investment with greater efficiency, ease, resilience, and stability. The best response to multilateralism, protectionism, and, not multilateralism, unilateralism, that's the opposite. I repeat, the best response to unilateralism, protectionism, and the tariff wave is not to give in or give up, but to stick together with a greater level of connectivity and a more consolidated intra-Asian production network and supply chain. This is exactly what Asia is doing. We are encouraged by the rapid progress in regional cooperation. Leaders of China, Japan, and Korea have agreed to reopen talks on trilateral FTAs as soon as possible. RCEP, RCEP, the world's single largest FTA, is expected to expand, deepen, and upgrade after 3 years of successful operation. At our annual conference 2 months ago, I heard people again talk about reviving the APEC and the APEC way on Asia-Pacific FTA, building on the momentum of RCEP and CPTPP remains a shared vision and aspiration for APEC member economies. I believe that closer regional cooperation will benefit us all and provide greater strength in coping with today's challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, here in Kazakhstan, robust connectivity has transformed a landlocked country into a key transit hub, truly a global crossroads connecting Europe and Asia. The Middle Corridor, the North-South Corridor, and the Trans-Caspian Transportation Network, together with the Belt and Road Initiative, present the country a great opportunities to unlock regional economic potential and strengthen collaboration with its Asian and European neighbors. Connectivity is also about connecting people and connecting minds. This is where forums such as the Boao Forum for Asia and the Astana International Forum play a vital role. I'm very pleased to see so many brilliant people and minds gathered here in Astana and at the panel today to build consensus, trust, confidence, and our shared future. I look forward to benefiting from your vision and wisdom, and I wish this dialogue a great success. Thank you. 谢谢.
Because of the the meeting with President Tokayev, and Chairman Ban has to leave earlier than scheduled, but I still wish to thank him for his very much thought-provoking and insightful keynote speech. And Chairman Ban shared with us the common challenges we are facing, and also the importance of regional cooperation in maintaining the entirety of the world economy, in promoting the diversification of supply chain, and also in exploring new dynamics and new driving forces for both our regional economy and also the world economy. He has also laid out a general picture about in what way we should further enhance our cooperation. That's very much meaningful to our discussions. Indeed, today's world is faced with many, many challenges. And in my discussions with scholars, they tend to tell me that in their belief, the only certainty in today's world is uncertainty. But I do see it differently, definitely. While we see many, many challenges, among them the trade war, the tariff war, which turned out to be the biggest one in today's world, which has very much undermined the global economy, undermined the global trading system, and undermined the confidence of the people in the world about our future. However, while we are coping with these challenges, definitely we have to think seriously in what way to overcome these difficulties, and then to explore the new potentials of the global economy and also regional economies. And on that, I think Asian countries, including Central Asian countries, have a big say. And we all know that Asian countries have made great efforts in the past years in promoting regional economic integration, in further strengthening our value chains, supply chain, production chains, and also including by launching a number of connectivity programs or projects like the Belt and Road, like the one initiated by Kazakhstan, and the Just Kazakhstan initiative, and together with some other ones from Asia, from Central Asian countries, and also from other parts of Asia. And we do believe with all these efforts, we are able to maintain an open economy. We can really further stabilize our regional supply chain, and we can really make our regional economy much resilient, like what we have heard from this morning's opening remarks. And for many times, the word resilience has been mentioned. We do hope that resilience calls for stronger cooperation, and we should also understand that in today's world, we should also make more efforts, making sure that our cooperation is mutually beneficial, and we can really achieve a win-win result, and like what has indicated in the forum's theme, and to have to shape a shared future for all of us. So we, of course, we have achieved a lot, and Asia should be proud of what we have been doing. And meanwhile, we have a lot of things to do, and we still have a long way. We have to remain committed in multilateralism. That's what we have heard a lot in coping with today's global challenges. We have to try to keep our economies open. Only by further opening our economies, we can really address better the challenges we are facing. And we have to really make the global value chain and the supply chain more inclusive, making sure that all countries, all parts, all sections in the global value chain benefit equally from our common endeavors. And then we have to really incorporate into our cooperation the digital part, making sure that what we are doing is reflecting the new development of technology. And also we have to really work even harder on exploring how to further diversify our regional supply chains, and then how to really match up our connectivity efforts with our efforts in promoting regional economic integration, including free trade, including investment. So all these things require practical steps. I'm very glad that today with us is a group of veteran diplomats and economists, and I'm sure we can expect a lot from their interventions. And on my right is the Deputy Foreign Minister of Kazakhstan, and Mr. Kuan Tirov. And I'm sure he will be sharing with us a lot about the practice undertaken by Kazakhstan in promoting regional connectivity and regional cooperation. And on his right is my dear friend, the President of the General Assembly, 75th. While we were celebrating the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, President Bosker was chairing the General Assembly, and he will be sharing with us his insights on this issue. And on his right is Deputy Secretary General of Shanghai Cooperation, a very powerful regional mechanism in promoting regional cooperation. On my left, Madame Shamshat Akhtar, she has held so many important titles. I don't know, I will spend half an hour introducing her to the audience, but mainly the Central Bank Governor of Pakistan, the Finance Minister, these two posts I will never try to undertake. And also the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Director of UN's Regional Commission. And well, she is really a true economist, and she will have a lot to say on this issue. On her left is, well, let me check the spelling again, and I still have difficulties in pronouncing her name. And okay, but I know she's the Deputy Secretary General of OECD, yes. John.
Thank you. So, I am Fabrizia Pecorella, Deputy Secretary General at the OECD. I am an economist.
Okay.
I'm an academic originally,
Okay.
not as distinguished as my fellow panelists on my right. And I'll be happy, to share with you our work on connectivity with the Central Asia.
Thank you so much for joining us again. And then on her left is Mr. Feng Yanqiu, the Managing Director of Silk Road Fund, which is an institution practicing the practical things in promoting connectivity and connection investment. So we do have a lot to expect from this group of guest speakers. I will practice like this. First, I will give 4 to 5 minutes to each of the panelists, and then to let them to have the chance to have some general presentation on their views on this issue. And then after that, I will pick up a few questions from what I have heard from the presentations, and then to invite the panelists to have a little bit further discussions on this mainly relatively practical issues. And frankly, my original plan is to have a 2-hour discussion, but the host told us, meetings are too popular and we are not able to have that long discussion, so we are limited to have a 1-hour meeting. Even though we started a little bit early, we have to really to be as brief as possible. And after the discussions, I will pick up some questions if possible, and then we will have some summaries, and then we finish today's job, and then we start our dinner. And now I will start the presentation, the first round. Some panelists have indicated that they prefer to go to the podium to present themselves. So since this is a very democratic forum, so I will not say no to their requests. I will now first give the floor to the Deputy Minister of Kazakhstan, and I'm sure on the basis of what we have heard from President Tokayev, which was already very much impressive enough, to hear more from you about the practice of Kazakhstan in promoting regional connectivity, regional cooperation, and the important role played by Central Asia. The floor is yours, Minister. Someone give me a mic not working, so I will still use this one.
Distinguished participants, colleagues, and friends. Okay, is it working now? Yeah. Well, good afternoon. It's an honor to join you at Astana International Forum, and let me extend my sincere greetings to Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who has given a speech, and all the fellow panelists and everyone who is presented in this hall. Well, I will start with some evident things that Kazakhstan is located at the heart of Eurasia with strategic access to some of the world's largest and fastest growing markets, and our geography has always shaped our role as a bridge between continents, cultures, and economies. Kazakhstan has always been a firm advocate for open trade, sustainable connectivity, and regional integration. In today's increasingly fragmented world, we believe that economic cooperation, especially through transport and logistics, is a key to a shared prosperity. With this in mind, Kazakhstan sees the middle corridor not just a transit route. If we talk about the alternative routes and in general the transit potential, now the main key point is the middle corridor, or the Trans-Caspian multimodal corridor, which is not only a transit route but also a strategic investment in the future of Eurasian connectivity, one that offers resilience, diversification, and opportunity for all stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, so the Trans-Caspian international transport route is no longer just a concept. It has become one of the key...
Let me add one nuclear weapon.
Okay. It has become one of the key arteries of Eurasian logistics, linking China with Europe through Kazakhstan, the Caspian Sea, the South Caucasus, and onward to Turkey. And our country plays a central role in this multimodal route. We provide over 3,500 kilometers of core railway infrastructure connecting the Chinese border to the east of Caspian ports in the west. From there, goods continue via maritime and rail connections across the South Caucasus onto the European markets. The middle corridor offers a viable, secure, and geopolitically balanced alternative to traditional northern routes. Its importance has grown substantially in recent years amid shifting trade patterns, new geopolitical realities, and the global demand for resilient supply chains. In Kazakhstan, the development of this route is not just a short-term response, but a strategic priority, and our government views the corridor as a long-term investment into regional integration, trade diversification, and economic resilience. In 2024, total cargo volume transported via the middle corridor rose by 60% compared to 2023, reaching approximately 4.5 million tons, with a target of hitting 10 million tons in a couple of years. This sharp growth confirms the rising importance and competitiveness of the route in global supply chains. Let me share a recent example. In March 2024, a container block train departed from Xi'an, China, and arrived in Azerbaijan's Absheron Peninsula via Kazakhstan and the port of Baku in just 11 days, and notably the train crossed the entire country of Kazakhstan in only 3 days. To put this into context, during the peak of congestion in summer 2022, similar shipments could take up to 53 days if they were going through other routes, and this demonstrates the efficiency of the Trans-Caspian corridor when supported by coordinated infrastructure and operations. And looking ahead, Kazakhstan aims to link the middle corridor with trans-European transport networks and reduce overall transit time to as little as 10 days. And to realize the full potential of the corridor, we are undertaking a comprehensive program of infrastructure modernization across the entire route, from rail to port capacity to customs and digital integration. Between 2023 and 2027, Kazakhstan is investing over $35 billion into transport and logistics infrastructure. This includes more than 1,300 infrastructure projects, many of which directly strengthen the middle corridor. Among our priorities are the construction of a new railway line, Darbaza-Maktaral, which will improve the connectivity to southern transit routes and reduce the load on existing corridors. Modernization of the Dostik-Mointy railway section to increase the capacity at the eastern gate. Expansion of port infrastructure on the Caspian Sea, including the construction of new terminals and berths, and the launch of dry ports at Khorgos, which has already become a key node on the China-Europe axis. In addition, Kazakhstan is modernizing rolling stock, container terminals, and logistics hubs to increase throughput and ensure seamless multimodal operations. This is not just about physical infrastructure, and we're also investing in digital solutions such as the National Digital Investment Platform, customs integration, and smart logistics to reduce time, cost, and paperwork for cargo moving across borders, as well as an industrial hub generating added value and jobs along the corridor. So the Caspian Sea is the central maritime link of the middle corridor, connecting Kazakhstan with Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, and beyond, and strengthening this segment is critical for seamless east-west transit. We also have, of course, bottlenecks, and to address them and accommodate growing cargo volumes, Kazakhstan is undertaking a comprehensive modernization of its port infrastructure. For example, we're doing dredging works in the ports of Aktau and Kurik to increase depth and allow for larger vessels, boosting overall handling capacity. Construction of a container hub at the port of Aktau, developed in cooperation with Abu Dhabi Ports Group. Once completed, it will significantly enhance our ability to process containerized cargo across the Caspian. Development of new multi-purpose and oil transshipment terminals to increase port diversification and resilience. Expansion of ferry and ro-ro terminals supporting efficient vehicle and trailer movement. Continued improvement of digital port operations aiming to reduce turnaround time and eliminate manual bottlenecks. In general, through this effort, the Caspian segment of the corridor is becoming not only a transit point, but a strategic logistics hub linking Central Asia to global markets. As a founding member, Kazakhstan works closely with other corridor states and operators to streamline procedures, harmonize tariffs, and ensure synchronized development. We're working on integrated tariff solutions, on digitalization of transit documentation, enhanced customs integration, and active cooperation with international organizations like the World Bank, EBRD, and UN ESCAP. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, apart from the transit role, it's a catalyst for economic development, of course, across the region, and we have developed special economic and industrial zone along the middle corridor, including Khorgos Eastern Gate and special economic zones Aktau Seaport, offering ready infrastructure, tax incentives, and simplified customs. For example, we have the industrial zones in Almaty, Atarau, Shymkent, and Kostanay regions, which are connected to the Trans-Caspian corridor, support processing, packaging, warehousing, and assembly, ideal for export manufacturing and distribution. And moreover, we're actively promoting joint ventures and contract manufacturing within these hubs, particularly in areas like agri-food, petrochemicals, light manufacturing, and green energy components. What I would like to conclude with is that we are committed to transforming the Middle Corridor into a strategic, reliable, and future-ready trade route connecting Asia to Europe, and we have already made substantial progress. But the potential of the Middle Corridor cannot only be fully realized through partnerships between governments, businesses, financial institutions, and logistics operators. So we invite our partners from around the world to join us in shaping the next phase of this route, to co-invest in infrastructure, to establish logistics and manufacturing bases across our country and beyond, to collaborate on technology, innovation, and digital logistics, and to collectively ensure that this corridor remains open, efficient, and inclusive. Kazakhstan stands ready with the political will, institutional support, and strategic location to be your reliable partner in unlocking the full promise of the Eurasian connectivity and, in general, developing the transit potential of our country, of our neighboring countries, and, in general, all the region. Thank you.
Sharing with us the valuable practice of Kazakhstan, and I will keep my question for the second round. So, if you wish, you may come back to your chair. Thank you so much. And next, I will give the floor to Madam Shamshak Akhtar. If you wish, you may also use the podium.
So, Honorable Secretary General of BOA Forum, it's always a pleasure to be sharing with you different panels and remarks. I'm going to blow up the Kazakhstan story to Asia. Asia, as you know, has long-standing and phenomenal contribution to fostering global and regional connectivity. It's unparalleled in the history. Over the past decades, Asia's role in promoting connectivity has promoted broad-based collaboration and shared prosperity. Given the scale and sustainability of prosperity of connectivity, Asia has been the engine of growth, trade, and investment driven. Dynamism of Asia has been fostered by regional and global integration, leveraging the region's rich resources and diversity. Enhancement of productivity in Asia has fueled trade, investment, and cross-border flows, and capital pool from within the region as well. FDI inflows in Asia has surpassed other regions such as EU plus UK, Africa, Latin America. Asia is second to the EU plus UK in trade in goods and services. Asia's gains have delivered prosperity, improved living standards, and reduced poverty, albeit uneven sub-regional development, as well as persisting inherent risks, vulnerabilities, and inequalities, which are going to be addressed over the period. Now, let me talk a little bit, very briefly, notably, Central Asia and South Asia sub-regions. These are challenged by underdeveloped infrastructure and smaller and similar markets and products. They have recorded the lowest integration indexes with its, of course, attendant risks. Let me touch on 5 points, areas briefly, critical for enhancement of regional connectivity. First, I'll touch on the trade agreement storyline with some data. Over the decades, connectivity has spurred trade liberalization, driven by bilateral and regional preferential trade agreements for short PTAs. World Bank reveals that intra-Asian agreements have risen to 77 by 2023 relative to 4 in 1990. The effectiveness of PTAs has been, however, constrained by overlapping PTAs, given associated compliance and administrative cost associated with these PTAs. Also, PTAs often offer shallow commitments in critical market access provisions. Hence, uneven progress across the sub-region in the use of PTAs has impacted terms of trade, openness to FDI, and advancements in financial markets. PTAs specific to industries end up reinforcing sector specialization, limiting scope for broadening trade across diverse industries. To unlock the full potential of PTAs, future agreements could emphasize new sectors and prospective markets, export diversification rather than merely amplifying the established trade flows. My second point refers to investment facilitation. Asia's intra-regional investment peaked to 60% of regional flows during pandemic, and since it's hovered around 55%. Investment facilitation policies, so critical for connectivity, in future need to reduce administrative barriers and service investors. FDI strategies need to be strengthened within the countries and the continent across the board in context now of the growing geopolitical risks. Keeping an eye on macroeconomics, reforms of institutional framework will improve efficiency, ensure resolution of trade tensions, shape firms' investment choices, and align policies with best practices and international commitment. As you know, Asia's intra-regional trade has increased. Between 2023, the growth was substantive. Regional value chains integration increased with forward linkages growing faster, suggesting a gradual shift towards regionalization. Regional value chains that have been talked about have gained importance across the region as economies rely on regional sourcing to enhance supply chain resilience and mitigate global trade risks. My third point, which has been discussed on different platforms now, is digital transformation. Digital transformation will be instrumental to simplify and promote coherence among regulations and regulatory agencies, leveraging investment promotion agencies to enhance FDI quality and diversify investing partners would go a long way for the sustainability. My fourth point, and this is the last point, that there is need to promote connectivity in energy sector in the region with focus on clean technology. Kazakhstan is the best place to talk about it with all the advancements it has achieved, but other countries are also growing fast. Of course, China is exceptional, and China has not only led the way in both production and distribution, but has also provided panels to different countries. With its rise, it's been pretty competitive to service the entire continent's requirements. Investment in renewable energy, electrical vehicles, clean technologies has surged globally. Decarbonization has resulted in diversification of the energy matrix. Improve affordability has made investments in solar, wind, green hydrogen, and battery storage increasingly attractive, and the region is attracting foreign investors to invest in green sectors. Let me just conclude with few points that given the geopolitical frictions and tensions that have been talked about, and headwinds of trade tensions in particular, there is tremendous inherent risk that there will be distraction and deviation from what has been a globalization solid path led by now China. Asia, with its achievements and potential, is however well equipped and geared for stronger leadership of Asia to renew and catalyze its commitment to global connectivity. Asia, being largest contributor of emission, needs to, however, enhance its collaboration on climate action and finance. It requires an estimated 1.1 trillion a year to address climate change, and I'm talking about the region. Regional cooperation is, of course, needed to mobilize climate finance, address macro-financial risks from climate change. Ban Ki-moon spoke this morning, and I was with him when he was negotiating the Paris Accord, and all of us played our role in the Paris Agreement. It has helped to harmonize disclosure standards for climate-related financial risk and integrate climate risks into fiscal policy management. With this, let me end by saying the new agenda should include a lot of new features, because it's time to now focus on how to diffuse the various tensions and negativity that's in the air. Thank you, Secretary General.
Thank you so much, Madam Akhtar, for sharing with us the general situation in Asia concerning connectivity and the regional cooperation in this regard, and also your analysis on the role played concerning investment, concerning digital connectivity, concerning what's the last one, on energy, yes, and all these are very much used, and also Asia's efforts in leading the world in coping with climate change or things like that. And very much, I'm very much impressed by your points, and I now, while my clock runs very fast, we do have time limitations, but I will give the floor to President Bosker, and you may present both here or over the podium.
The microphone is always surprised when I come to the floor because I'm abnormal. It's for normal people. It's an honor for me to. It's an honor for me to be with you today, and I must start by thanking the President of Kazakhstan and the Kazakh government for hosting us and giving us great hospitality, and also organizing this very timely and important meeting. The issue we are talking about is enhancing regional connectivity and unleashing development potentials. In an interconnected world, no nation or region has the thrive in isolation. Unfortunately, we see a trend towards isolation or changing the polar system created after the Second World War. But I think by breaking down barriers and building bridges, both literal and figurative, we can unlock unprecedented opportunities for growth, innovation, and collective progress. Let me first start with the importance of connectivity. It has been mentioned wisely by the speakers before me. But connectivity is more than just roads and railways. It is about linking economies, cultures, and aspirations. When regions are well connected, first of all, trade flourishes. When trade flourishes, it will reduce costs and expanding markets. If regions are well connected, then investments will start flowing, and that will create jobs and boost industries. It will, of course, need people connected and fostering understanding and collaboration. And of course, if regions are interconnected, then innovation accelerates as ideas and technologies spread faster. From the ancient Silk Road to today's digital highways, history has shown that connectivity drives civilizations forward. Now we must harness this power for a more inclusive and sustainable future. Let me now turn on the key strategies for regional connectivity. To realize this vision, we must focus on 4 pillars of action. One is the infrastructure for integration. We must invest in modern transport networks, highways, railways, ports, and airports to ensure seamless movement of goods and people. But digital infrastructure is equally vital, expanding broadband access and smart technologies to bridge the digital divide. In addition, energy connectivity through cross-border grids and renewable projects will power our economies sustainably. The second pillar is trade and investment as engines of growth. And we must starting by cutting red tape, harmonize regulations, and create special economic zones to attract global investors. Regional trade agreements must be strengthened to open new markets and foster economic resilience. Third pillar will be people-centered development. In this context, of course, very important is the easier visa policies. And enhanced mobility will allow talent, tourists, and students to move freely, enriching our societies. Visa is one of the evils of today. I come from a country which is fighting to get visas from Europe or the United States. And having customs union with European Union, having 150 billion euros of trade every year, we are still facing a situation where people wait sometimes for months and get a 10 days visa. Students can be blocked. And now the announcement by the United States to stop or slow down the student visas is not good for our future. So we must find a way to handle this. Of course, we must invest in education and skills development, ensuring our workforce is ready for the jobs of tomorrow. Education is key to anything. Without education, we can't move to the next steps. It's out of question. The fourth pillar is sustainability and resilience. Growth must be green. We must prioritize clean energy, eco-friendly transport, and climate-resilient infrastructure. Together, we can build systems that withstand shocks, from economic crisis to natural disasters. So, what action can we take is the question. The task ahead is immense, but so is the opportunity. Every problem has a solution. Every difficulty has, of course, sometimes creates an opportunity. This is not just about building roads, it's about building futures. And it requires, first of all, strong political will to prioritize long-term gains over short-term challenges. Public-private partnerships, mobilizing resources and expertise. Regional cooperation, because borders should not be barriers, but gateways to shared success. We must draw inspirations from successful examples like the ASEAN Connectivity Master Plan, or the African Continental Free Trade Area, or the EU's Trans-European networks, or many other projects which has been mentioned name by name by Madame and the Secretary General previously. So to end my words, let me point that the path to prosperity is a connected one. By enhancing regional connectivity, we are not just laying down tracks or cables, we are laying the foundation for peace, progress, and shared prosperity. We should move forward with courage, collaboration, and conviction. I think together we can turn our vision into reality and ensure that no community is left behind in the journey toward a brighter future. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, President Dr. For explaining the importance of four pillars. Definitely, those are extremely important in supporting further development of regional connectivity. I will now give the floor to Deputy Secretary General Piao Yang Fan from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. She will speak Russian. I will give you 2 seconds to put on your earphone, and if you don't have an earphone, you have to understand Russian. 给我一个。这个有的。Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. Уважаемые господа. Dear Mr. Chanshin, dear ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let me full-heartedly welcome you on behalf of the chairman of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and thank you for putting this event at such a high level today. SCO has been transformed into transnational organizations, taking into account the extension of SCO to include the Partners Dialogue. It covers the regions of Europe, Asia, Middle East, and Africa. In modern conditions, the role of Shanghai Cooperation Organization is getting more and more essential. The choice made by the member states in the beginning of the 21st century in regards to the establishing the organization became a wonderful example of friendly relationships. And so far, the SCO is the evidence of the power and resilience of Shanghai spirit that includes the principles of mutual trust, mutual benefits, equality, mutual consultations, respect to cultures, and aspiration for conjoint development. From year to year, the importance of SCO keeps developing. The member states strive to reinforce their cooperation, which is very essential, taking into account the global challenges and stability worldwide. Currently, one of the major objectives for SCO is finding the solutions for multilateral activities to implement conjoint initiatives and projects. SCO includes all areas that are important for member states. We've been actively engaged in political, trade, R&D, transportation, cultural, and other areas. For instance, we've been making efforts to sustain peace, safety, and security in the region, as well as to build just political, economic, and international orders. Taking into account the geopolitical tension, and multilateral protectionism means that brings the risks of trade crisis. SCO reiterates a need to ensure regional and economic cooperation. And I would like to mention that the declaration that was adopted as a result of the conference for heads of the member states in Astana, the SCO member states have announced the year of 2025 as the year for sustainable development. And we have plans on sustainable development up to 2030, as well as to have inclusive economic collaboration. A transfer to free movement of capital, commodities and services is one of the fundamental principles for economic cooperation under the framework of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. For instance, cooperation in transportation allows us to optimize logistics networks and make the commodities more accessible for the clients. The interaction of the member states within the framework of special working group for customs cooperation in regards to developing legal framework and ensuring capacity building to include intellectual rights protection and risk management allows to increase the capacity at border checkpoints and ensure the continuous movement of commodities throughout the CO. In the current realia, it is more essential to reinforce connectivity in transport infrastructure, to implement conjoint projects on transit corridors. In this context, the intergovernmental agreement is being implemented in order to ensure enhanced conditions for international transportation, to reinforce the transportation connectivity aimed at harmonizing the procedures, as well as to reinforce the vehicle transportation within SCO. Moreover, we have a new mechanism aimed at developing transport and logistics related potential in maritime and logistics hubs development. It's necessary to mention that within SCO, we have repeatedly mentioning about the role of WTO, and the member states keep being adherent to seeking for compliance with WTO requirements. Our actions have to be founded on just, inclusive, and transparent multilateral trade system. Dear colleagues, SCO is one of the mechanisms enabling the member states to promote further endeavors in order to ensure sustainable development and connectivity in Asia and beyond the region. We will keep reinforcing our cooperation with other structures and the new friends in order to ensure the strengthening of stability, economic cooperation, and social development and in SCO countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary General Piao Yangfan, for your remarks, for your comments. And I will now give the floor to the Deputy Secretary General for OECD, Madame Fabrizia Lapi-Corella. You have the floor, Madame.
Thank you, Secretary General, and good afternoon to you all. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here. I will be talking about something that we've already heard from the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, but it is a great opportunity, I think, for me today to share with you the work that we at the OECD are doing with the countries of Central Asia. Now, to be sure, it is work that has been going on for a very long period of time. It's over a decade that we work together, but and is work that we do also in partnership with other organizations like the International Transport Forum or the UN International Trade Center. But this year we have launched a project under the EU Prosperity Programme in Central Asia to enhance the competitiveness of the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor in Central Asia. And how do we do this? We do it the way that we always do at the OECD, an evidence-based analysis, and the analysis draws on different type of data and information. So we're using existing OECD and non-OECD indicator systems. We are using a survey of international and local transport and logistics companies active in Central Asia, and also consultations with relevant government stakeholders and development partners. Now, this, the goal of the project is to help governments identify and address the remaining bottlenecks related to both soft and hard infrastructure on the corridor. This work, the report, will be launched this autumn at the 3rd EU Central Asia Economic Forum in Uzbekistan. Now, as I just said, it is ongoing work, and work is not completed yet, but some preliminary and interesting findings are already emerging, both at national and regional and at national level. And we see certainly positive developments, including rapid growth of traffic and substantial investment in new infrastructure. There has also been great progress with respect to trade facilitation, with Kazakhstan in particular emerging as the leading reformer in the region in recent years. As a keynote node on the corridor, Kazakhstan has much to gain from its development and is investing heavily, as we've just heard, in railways, logistics center, and port development. That said, it is important to have in mind that there are, however, challenges across the region that remain and would need to be addressed. This includes the environmental impact of rapidly rising road freight. So more can be done, should be done to reduce the environmental impact of rising road freight, to include the phasing out of fossil fuel subsidies, the introduction of more stringent fuel quality standards and fleet renewal, restrictions on the import of new vehicles, such as those adopted here last December, will hinder fleet upgrades. Across much of the region, it would also be important to renovate rail networks. Second, trade facilitation. So while our trade facilitation indicators show considerable progress, there is much more to do. And a coordinated approach to trade facilitation and border formalities across the region, including further digitalization, we also heard about that, could help greatly. Across much of the region, the private sector, this is another very delicate point, the private sector continues to report corruption in customs and problems with such basic issues as transit permits and visas for drivers. There is Finally, a need to continue working on broader structural issues, such as the absence of a level playing field between state-owned enterprises and private firms, and protectionist practices. The monopoly status of some state-owned enterprises like Kazakhstan-owned rail company KTZ reduces the opportunities for involving the private sector in infrastructure development and confronts firms with frequent and often unexpected tariff hikes and other changes. Also, this is a challenge that would need to be addressed. And I cannot conclude by without mentioning the future of the Caspian Sea itself. The sea level has been steadily falling since the 90s, leading to important changes in the coastline and the shallower waters. Simply dredging is not the solution. We need a coordinated international action to understand the reasons for the Caspian's decline and the ways we can both mitigate it and, to the extent necessary, adapt to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary General. I will now give the floor to Mr. Feng Yanqiu, the Manager Director of the Silk Road Fund. You have the floor, sir.
Honorable Secretary General Zhang, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a great honor to me to be invited as a speaker for this channel under AIF 2025. SRF, or Silk Road Fund, was established in 2014 as a medium to long-term equity investment institution in response to the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. As an upholder and a practitioner of high-quality BRI cooperation, SRF has invested in more than 70 countries and all regions in Asia, Africa, Latin America, Europe, and others. Our total commitment investment has reached $25.8 billion by the end of 2024. Based on our experience, I'd like to share some insights on further deepening connectivity and unleashing development potential now and in the future. First, leveraging equity investment as patient capital to facilitate economic development. SRF mainly engages in medium to long-term equity investment, which account for over 80% of our portfolio. By applying diverse financing tools together with other multilateral or international financial institutions, we channel funds into energy, infrastructure, and industrial manufacture projects in accordance with host countries' development strategies. It improves the capital structure of the investee projects and promotes long-term economic and social value creation. For example, the Carrot hydropower project in Pakistan, an exemplary energy project of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, delivers clean energy, alleviates power shortages, and supports local economic growth. Similarly, the Sir Diarrhea power plant in Uzbekistan helps alleviate the long-standing electricity shortages in Uzbekistan and ensures stable supply for local industries and households. Once such large-scale greenfield infrastructure projects complete construction and start operation, they will effectively strengthen the medium and long-term economic foundations of the countries and regions along the routes, driving industrialization, stabilizing industrial supply chains, and promoting sustainable development. That is what the BRI stresses: build, foster, and share the future development of host countries. Second, advancing small yet smart projects. Heart-to-heart communications Silk Road Fund is committed to promote small yet smart projects that deliver physical and tangible benefits to local people's livelihoods, enhancing the satisfaction and happiness of local communities. Regarding healthcare sector, we invested in hospitals in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Regarding digitalization, we invested OTA, or online travel agency, in Southeast Asia. Regarding education, we invested a private K-12 education group in Middle East and a special education project in Europe. Regarding consumer goods, we invested a leading retailer in Vietnam. In all, Belt and Road Initiative is not just energy and infrastructure. Investment of livelihoods is of the same importance. Third, promoting sustainable investment for the Green Silk Road. The fund established a Sustainable Investment Committee, issued sustainable investment policies, and formulated an exclusion list for sustainable investment. We incorporate environmental, social, and governance, or ESG factors into our risk management framework and building risk toolkits based on international experience. We standardize and integrate the relevant sustainability assessment factors into our investment management process. We advance sustainability-related disclosure of our investment portfolio. Now we have a sustainable investment portfolio of around $2.6 billion, in which green assets total about $1.5 billion and social impact assets about $1.1 billion. I would also mention a large energy project in which SRF introduced a carry-sharing mechanism linked to ESG performance. In this way, we effectively incentivized the target to improve its ESG governance. Fourth, fostering broad cooperation and partnership. We worked with global partners to establish several platforms that integrate sustainable investment principles into their projects. This includes Belt and Road Hong Kong Flagship Impact Fund, Silk Road Macau Joint Investment Platform, China-EU Co-Investment Fund, and China Central Asia Investment and Financing Platform. Additionally, we invested in leading global fund managers. In 2023, we became an official member of International Capital Market Association. The membership not only deepens our dialogue with international peers, but also facilitates the exchange of experience in sustainable investment and compliance management. We also participated in Capacity Building Alliance of Sustainable Investment, which was officially launched at the 28th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. 2025 marks the beginning of SRF's second decade. We look forward to deepening cooperation with all stakeholders using financing to enhance connectivity, unlock new opportunities, create new momentum, and explore new frontiers for development. We aim to contribute to high-quality development. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Feng for his presentation, and you can see that it's not easy to be a good moderator, and you always hear more concrete remarks, but you have no power to stop anyone at any point. But I thank the efforts made by the panelists in really presenting and laying out a more comprehensive picture about connectivity. I have only 4 or 5 minutes, but still I do not want to give up the second round. Instead of asking questions one by one, I will throw out a number of questions and ask some of the panelists to make some very, very brief comments. And then I will move to the audience, hearing some question, and then to have some brief answers. My first question is, from what we have heard from the audience, including the Vice Minister, that we have to do a lot in promoting hardware connectivity. But then, of course, it's extremely important to introduce the new development of digital technologies into connectivity. So in what way we can do better in matching up the development of connectivity with the development of digital technologies, making sure that we are better equipped in the coming days. And secondly, my question is, we are confronted with a global trade war launched by the United States, which overshadowed almost everything from production to daily life of the whole world. So definitely we're also suffering from the impact of this trade war. So in what way we should assess the impact and how to overcome the challenges? And third, in developing regional connectivity, definitely we are not simply to make our transportation faster than before. We are trying to make our economy better matched with the transformation of the world economy. So for that purpose, we need definitely to align better the efforts of connectivity with the efforts for regional economic integration, including free trade agreements and free trade zones. So in what way we can better match up the two things? I will start from Shemshak.
Lots of questions there.
You can only pick up one. With 1 minute. Okay. Mike.
I think it's important to recognize, can you hear me now? Okay. It's important to recognize that we were operating in a very positive world order prior to all these tensions created by United Nations, by US, trade war as well as tariff escalation. So now entering forward, if we want to have to maintain, to actually enhance and augment our connectivity, we would have to operate in a different world order in terms of, from the standpoint of Asia itself. So Asia will have to redouble its efforts, and connectivity that goes beyond region to global connectivity will allow and open up new markets for Asia, both through the Belt and Road Initiative, which has been very instrumental. And if you have seen the map of how Belt and Road Initiative has nurtured connectivity from my country's west side to all the way to the other side, it is very critical that countries coalesce together to accelerate the implementation of Belt and Road Initiative. Beyond that, I would just like to remind people that Asia has not just achieved this connectivity automatically. It's taken a lot of hard work and effort. And I can talk about my days in the UN and SCAP, where we actually worked pretty hard to develop the blueprint for the transport national highways, as well as other connectivity blueprints in terms of the rule books and all that. So that fostered sustainable connectivity, I would say, which is still serving us well. But I think there is need to have another fresh look in this architecture of connectivity. I'll stop here.
Okay, thank you so much.
I will comment on digitalization. So Kazakhstan is actually involved in the Digital Silk Road program, so to say, because with all the cargo growing so fast and transiting through our territory, we have no other option than implementing AI and other digital instruments. So it's all intertwined. So we have a very good example of a robust Chinese development, especially in the AI and in digitalization in all spheres. So at the same time, we're also developing ourselves. And with the development in general of the e-gov services and everything, the customs, seamless cross-border movements, etc. So we are implementing new AI and IT technologies, AI instruments into the transit systems, and at the same time, this particular transit system is like in the defense industry. You have some additional technologies, additional inventions, so they will go into the civil. They will be used in civil purposes. So, and of course, with all of the growing of the AI technologies and all the IT technologies being used, so and also there is a growing risk of some cyber attacks. So we have to also have that cross-border. We have to have some coordinated cyber answers to these kind of things. But at the same time, of course, this digitalization in general realization implementation of the Digital Silk Road program will help all of the countries who are along the route, who are using these instruments, make a leapfrog in the economic development, because the better effect and more effective instruments we are using, the better effect will be for the economy and for the quality of both of movements, and I think of the quality of businesses and the quality of life of those people who are involved in these businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I really am running out of time, but
we have one from audience question. Mr. Rosen.
You are the moderator? I'm picking up one question from the audience, and I don't know if you will be asking questions. I know that Mr. Zhou, you have ready to make some comments, but very briefly.
？I'm going to speak Chinese. 我来自新疆自治区人民政府。那么作为中国的这个向西开放的门户，我个人非常感受到，没有人能比我们新疆更了解这个互联互通的重要性。正是得益于。
I would like to say that those who live in Xinjiang understand how important it is actually to integrate our efforts and ensure connectivity. One Belt, One Road program actually has reiterated how important it is actually to integrate. And right now, the digitalization and internet connectivity is the area of focus, and we have reinforced our investment fourfold. And our intention actually is to reinforce the infrastructure and to make sure that there's a system available that will allow us to keep developing the transportation network. And actually, those initiatives do have an impact on our partners in Central Asia and Middle East. And we would like to propose you to use our platform for the basic infrastructure. Talking about the integration between China and Central Asia, we have plenty of opportunities, and undoubtedly all of the speakers who have delivered the speeches, you are welcome to come to China.
To all the panelists for not having more sufficient time for the discussions, and for the audience for not being able to ask for more questions. The panelists for the next meeting are already standing there waiting for starting their meeting. I won't take the risk for further summaries, but I do wish to thank all the panelists for their great contributions. Definitely, what you have presented are very much insightful, thought-provoking. Definitely, we should pursue multilateralism in the coming days in promoting regional cooperation. We should also make more efforts in promoting regional economic connectivity so as to support regional economic integration. We have to adopt an innovation-driven approach, making sure that we are better equipped in the coming days, and we have to also make more efforts to cope with the impacts of the trade war. That's really a big challenge to all of us. We have a lot of things to do, but I'm sure that bearing in mind that we are always connecting our minds, and we will be better shaping our shared future in the coming days. I thank you again.
Okay, excellent. Distinguished delegates, experts, dear colleagues and friends, let's get started. My name is Steve O'Malley. I'm the United Nations Resident Coordinator ad interim for Kazakhstan. I'm extremely happy to be able to welcome you to this session, Charting the Path Forward, the UN at 80 and the Pact for the Future. And I want to begin by thanking the government of Kazakhstan for organizing the Astana International Forum, bringing this incredible group of people from around the world together. I'm going to welcome our speakers today, and I'll go to my left here. First, Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, Undersecretary General and the UN Secretary General's Special Envoy for Digital and Emerging Technologies. Next to him, Mr. Akan Rahmatulin, the first Deputy Foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Ms. Aleshka Simkic, Ambassador of the European Union to the Republic of Kazakhstan, and Dr. Felipe Polier, the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations for Youth Affairs. So we have a very interesting panel from very diverse backgrounds and perspectives. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, and through its history has many accomplishments. The support of the decolonization process that helped 80 countries, more than 80 countries, gain independence. The establishment of the Universal Human Rights Standards through the 1948 Declaration. The facilitation of the Paris Agreement, and acting as a cornerstone for peacekeeping, humanitarian aid, sustainable development, and the promotion of human dignity. Throughout, the UN has continued to be the only place on earth where all nations come together to discuss shared problems and seek solutions that serve the common good of humanity. But now we are living in a very complicated world, a so-called VUCA environment, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We are seeing sharp reductions in funding that will impede the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. We are seeing widening geopolitical divisions and eroding trust. And indeed, the very value of multilateralism is being questioned. So, in September 2024, the UN member states agreed on and adopted a pact for the future, together with two key annexes, a global digital compact and the Declaration for Future Generations, to renew the global commitment to multilateralism and address the pressing challenges of conflict, of inequality, of climate change. So this is what we want to discuss today. How do we go forward from this point we're in? How do we use what we have? And how do we reform what we have to move forward? So let us hear from our speakers and get right into it. We've given them each 7 minutes, and then we have microphones in the room. So we really want to open up the opportunity for people to ask questions, and we'll be very clear about that. We are going to stop at 4:50 so that we can get to our next meeting. I'll be very quick in my introductions of each speaker. Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, as I said, Undersecretary General, Special Envoy for Digital Technologies since 2022, recognized by Time Magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in AI globally in 2024, a wealth of experience in diplomacy and technology and global policy making. What challenges do you see for us, but also opportunities, I think is the thing we want to focus on to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and how to bridge this digital divide that we see not only between North and South, but within every society. Sir.
Thank you very much, Steve, and may I join you in thanking our gracious host from Kazakhstan for bringing us together. What an excellent start to this conference this morning. The President set the tone for all of us. So thank you very much. And honored to be on this panel. Thank you for choosing such a pertinent theme. Challenges and opportunities. So that's a cliched lens often to look at where we are. I think what happened in September, Steve, you highlighted that. There was a once-in-a-generation opportunity to look at what are our global challenges, where does the UN fit in, where does the UN add value in addressing those challenges, and how do we move forward? So it was a process that kicked in some time back, 75th anniversary reflection. So it was matured in a nice way and came together in this consensus decision. The pact was adopted, these two annexes, and in a sense, Felipe and I kind of represent those two annexes. And after a long time, the UN did some institutional innovation, setting up the Youth Envoy's Office, the Office for Digital and Emerging Technologies. So it's not only about global challenges, but also internal challenges, reform, continuation of the process that Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General, had set in motion. His emphasis on UN 2.0, bringing data, digital technologies, so behavioral sciences, and new ways to our working. So since then, we moved into a fresh weather front, more challenges, particularly around funding. But I'd like us to all think about this moment less in terms of resources, but more in terms of change of, let's say, operational mode and a shift in terms of ownership. Because too often the UN has been seen as driven by major groupings, major powers. And whereas it has always been a forum for the small and medium states in particular, the middle powers, as the President called them this morning, included, to protect their interests, to come together in interesting ways through the agencies, funds and programs, but also the broader forums under the UN to advance their own interests. So I would see this moment as a shift back to that broader vision of the UN, where we need to find ownership across a broader swathe of governments, but also civil society, academia, the private sector, to address these challenges, including the challenge of technology, which is impacting us in fast and furious ways, and on which we need more international solidarity, more international cooperation than we realize. I think we can come back to this later. So I would frame this challenge that way. That said, we have the 80th anniversary, and the Secretary General was very clear when we started to talk about at the senior levels in the UN, saying that this is not really a celebration, but let's use this moment to continue the reform process, the rejuvenation process, and looking for a more fit-for-purpose UN that delivers value to its stakeholders. That's the point. And if that means, achieving more efficiency, if that means rethinking some of the 3,000 plus mandates that member states have given over the years, so they've kind of layered up and resulted in some complexities, a lot of overlap. So there is homework to be done, there is some unpacking required, and goodness knows, we can be more efficient in the UN. So we can, if that means leveraging the RC system, one of our biggest assets is the resident coordinator system, the 132, boots on the ground, our eyes and ears, but also active participants in the development journey of many, many countries. So those are the kind of let's say intermediate level challenges that we can use this anniversary to push on. And then at a deeper level, I think this is where we need to think about the UN as not only as a secretariat or the agencies with their own staff and so on, but also as what the member states are. I mean, the UN at the end of the day is an intergovernmental organization, treaty-based organization, and their member states need to reflect on where is the value add. And I'll end my 6-7 minutes by just bringing to you this with the concrete example of emerging technologies, AI in particular.